Okay, we are live. Happy Monday. Happy Martin Luther King holiday. How's everybody doing? Hello, hello. We have a guest speaker in the house. We've got Sydney Lofton in the house speaking to us about using Section 8 housing as a passive income strategy. Sydney, go ahead and tell the people who you are, what you do, and what you came here to teach us.
Um, Sorry for the technical difficulty. So, hey everyone, my name is Sydney Lofton from Levels to Landlording. I've been a Section 8 landlord for about 14 years. So, I've made all the mistakes, so you won't have to. And just understanding the population, understanding the market, and understanding the myths so that we can bust those myths has basically allowed my family to replace our W 2 and just kind of work as we desire and not as we need. So it gives us the financial freedom to just live the life we've always imagined while we build the legacy for generations to come.
Yes, what a powerful, powerful introduction. All right. So if you're watching this live, go ahead and type in live in the chat, tag your friends, tag your family, share this live because Sydney's about to drop some gems. Okay. Those of you who are just joining me, those of you, this is your first time you're watching me live, right? Who am I? My name is Katiana Kare. I'm an alternative investment strategist. Okay. Ooh, hello. Didn't hear that. Okay. I'm an alternative investment strategist. I am here to teach you about investment opportunities you never knew existed. And here's the thing, right? You don't want me to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. All right. Okay. So I stick to what I know, and then I get the experts to come teach you what I don't know so much of. I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not the expert in Section 8 housing. So I brought you the expert. Okay. And so, Sydney, tell
Yes.
me, before I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I'm going to invite everyone who is watching live, and even if you're watching this on the replay, type in your questions because I can only think of so many questions. But sometimes you guys have questions, and they're amazing questions that create a learning opportunity for everyone, right? And so when you ask them, you actually help expand everyone's consciousness around the investing subject that we're touching today. So I want to ask you, Sydney,
Mhm.
what are some key things you definitely want to touch on tonight before we end the live? What would you say? So I can write down those notes.
A few key things. One is I want to touch on myths about Section 8, definitely.
Mhm.
I want to touch on those who've never been a landlord before and have myths about landlordism, and um, and just kind of help people to position themselves because when the money comes, you still want to treat it like a business and not like money that you're going to just spend. Because once you have tenants and properties, you always got to kind of make sure you have money to fix things if they do break, and your tenants aren't going to want to wait until you get paid again in order for you to do that. So basically, alignment for just myth busting and just what do you need to do to position yourself even if you're not ready to be a landlord right now or a Section 8 landlord, and even if you are wanting to outsource that to a property manager, you still need to know what to look for in a property manager. So we can just kind of touch on those things.
Okay, I love it. I love it. I love it. So the first question that I have for you is, tell us about your journey. How did you get into this field, number one, and specifically Section 8 housing? I'm interested to hear this.
It's so funny, Kat, because you didn't know this until today that I used to live in South Florida. So when I lived in South Florida, I got connected with a lot of my coworkers who worked for Broward Sheriff's Office. They were in like an investment group. And so for them, they always wanted to get all their money together, invest in like waterfront properties. Or I remember when I was down there, there was the first Black guy to build a 5-star hotel at the Ritz-Carlton in Miami. And he kept getting a whole lot of roadblocks. So what he would do is try to reach out to Black investors that would stop that roadblock. So when I'm living in South Florida, just being someone who loves water and love beachfront property, I always wanted to be an investor in the sexy real estate, the lifestyle
Mm.
real estate, the ones that you're going to see on TV, the ones that is going to be impressive to others. But what I quickly found out is that when you invest with a lot of people, there are a lot of variables you cannot control. And you put a lot of money in, you have a lot of personalities. It depends on how they set up the LLC, how you get paid out. It was just a lot of depending on other people.
Mhm.
And when I met my husband, he was into distressed properties, but he was doing it only as a hobby. And I was like, I can use my previous knowledge to help him understand you don't have to just do this because he was really wanting to help single mothers because he was a product of single parenthood. And so he was bleeding dry, all trying to lead, be a CEO, but leading from his heart. So I kind of just took that off of him. So it was his skill to fix distressed properties. And I'm like, let me make this into a business and we can help people while making a living. And so that's how that was my journey into Section 8.
Yes, I love that. How powerful is that? And so what made you discover, what made you stay in the Section 8 part? Like I know that you were looking for the luxury, the waterfront, but what made you decide, well, this is going to be my niche. This is where I'm going to concentrate my efforts.
I'm always a freedom fighter. Again, being from the South, and although I used to live in South Florida, I'm originally from North Florida, and it's very Jim Crow South. So,
Mm.
you really learn how to be a freedom fighter and an activist in whatever situation I found myself in. And so just, going to school, getting in all the different degrees and dealing with the underprivileged, underserved, marginalized communities in whatever situation they found themselves in, I realized that especially with Section 8, this population is so vulnerable. They're such the least of these. They keep getting slumlords, they
Mm.
keep getting scams ran on them because you cannot say that you won't run out to Section 8. So what would happen is people was like they'll just be like, well, let me just take their security deposit, let me run their background check, let me find things that are going to disqualify them, but I'll just make a living just on taking their the security deposit and their application fees. And so I just felt like there was a way to be a voice for the voiceless in that. I feel like everyone deserves dignified housing. Everyone deserves a dignified landlord. Everyone deserves a dignified experience. And I could solve a problem with housing crisis while making a difference and creating generational wealth.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, yes, yes. So not only are you creating financial freedom, or you've created financial freedom for yourself, but you're also empowering your community while doing it. Like, come on now. Isn't that why we get into
Absolutely.
the business in the first place? For our
Yes.
community. Yes. I love that. I love that. So the first question that I have for you, outside of that is, could you explain the fundamentals of a Section 8 program, right? How is this different from a traditional rental agreement? Talk to us.
Okay, so first of all, as you know, we say Section 8 landlord just because the masses can identify with it. But basically, what you really are as a Section 8 landlord, you're a housing choice vendor voucher. And so
Mm.
basically, the housing authority is who you are a vendor with. And the
Mhm.
housing authority basically sets the rent. So if you're a private landlord, you set your own rent amount. But when you are a Section 8 landlord, you have to go with what the housing authority says they will rent to you on for based on location and based on bedrooms.
Mhm.
So the con of being a Section 8 is a disadvantage to being a Section 8 landlord is that a lot of times you're renting below market. So
Mm.
so for instance, just to keep the numbers easy, for a one bedroom, you would probably be able to rent that in a nice area. You'd probably be able to rent that for, let's just say, 1,200. But
Mhm.
if you're on Section 8, as a Section 8 landlord, they may say, hey, we're only going to give you 1,000. So
Mhm.
you're renting below market value. But the benefit is that one, you're not waiting on the tenant alone to pay that money, because when you're a
Right.
housing choice vendor, then the housing authority is going to pay you for most of it. A lot of times they'll pay for all of it if your tenant isn't working, and then if your tenant does work, they will pay for a majority of it, and then your tenant has to pay the remaining. So although initially at face value it looks like a disadvantage to rent below market rate, the advantage is that you have longevity. So you have
Right.
a lower turnover rate. And additionally, let's say that I was dealing with someone publicly and I rented out to them, they can get mad, they can destroy my property, and I have no teeth. However, if you are renting to someone who is on that housing voucher program, they don't want to lose their voucher. So most housing authorities, because they don't want to lose their vendors, they make an agreement with the vendors like, hey, before, if you want to get rid of a tenant, or if a tenant wants to move, before we will let them use their voucher again, they have to get a clearance letter. And in order to get a clearance letter, if there are any damages that have been done, or if they have outstanding bills they need to pay towards you, we won't let them use their voucher again until they pay you. And then they put a time limit on it. So the housing authority is like, if they don't pay you within 60 days, they lose their voucher altogether. No one wants to lose their voucher because they're in upwards of a 10-year waiting list. So they don't want to lose their voucher and have to get back on the bottom of that waiting list and try to get back on that. So that's the gist of it, that Section 8 chooses how much money they're going to pay you. You get to choose your tenants based on that, but you do still have teeth. Hi, but how can you pronounce that for me?
Belfield. Belfield. Yeah, she's one of my
Okay.
clients.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yes, that's the benefit.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for that. Those of you who are watching, I just want to pause for a second. If you're enjoying this live, right? Go ahead and type in something in the chat. Type in a one in the chat, right? Go ahead and hit the like button, the love button, the hug button, whatever button. Because when you guys keep hitting those little likes, and you keep sending them, right, it pushes the algorithm to show it to more people. And we're talking about some strategies that Sydney has told us, right, have been reserved for people who don't look like us, right? They're the ones who are benefiting from our community. They're getting our dollars. And so we're teaching you how to recycle your money within your community and put yourself in those same positions that those who don't look like us have been taken advantage of for years. So please hit those little like thingies, hit it, keep hitting it, right? Type in something in the chat, tag your friends, share this to everyone so that we can expand our reach. Okay. Thank you so much, Sydney, for that. That was can you repeat what you said about the housing vendor thing? Because I wanted to write that in the chat as notes. You said that,
Housing Choice Voucher Vendor.
Okay, housing choice voucher vendor.
So
Okay.
just to kind of put it in context, a lot of times we hear people say they live in the projects.
Mm-hmm.
So if people live in the projects, they also receive money towards where they stay, except for it's not a private landlord. When you live in a project, the project is owned by the housing authority.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times getting a housing choice voucher is kind of like a school choice voucher. So now you can take those same funds, instead of going to a public housing, you can take that voucher and take it to a private landlord. And that's why they call it a housing choice, because now you get to choose your housing as opposed to staying in public housing, the projects. And so that's where the ability for them to get scammed a little bit comes into play, because now instead of them using a public housing, which has clear regulations, clear standards, they're taking their voucher and shopping it around to private landlords. And if the private landlords are not legit, they are being taken advantage of tremendously.
Okay. Now, I know that, obviously you have a program where you teach about this entire process, and I want to be respectful of that program. Without going too much into the nitty-gritty detail, can you kind of give us an overall view of what that process looks like? How do I become a housing choice voucher vendor? What does that process look like?
The process looks like, if you have any home, like a property, one, you have to have a property that you own. or yeah, that you own. You can still be paying mortgage on it, but you have to actually have to own the property. You're going to reach out to your local housing authority, see if they have a waiting list, see if they need new vendors. Once you've contacted the housing authority, they will put your house on their list, either website or however they disseminate that information. So from that point, then you'll have tenants who are looking for a house to contact you from that. And then you just fill out the application process. You don't do your screening or whatever mechanisms, and screening is key to finding the right tenant. And so you do your screening and you choose from there. You decide how much security deposit that you want to ask for. You decide what your application fee is going to be. And every city and every state is different. So it's very important to look at your landlord tenant handbook for your county and for your state, because where some states allow some states allow you to have a application fee, other states don't allow that. So it's very important for you to understand your regulations for your local where you are locally. And then after that, you just choose a tenant and you go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
you're basically having two contracts. So you're having a contract with the housing authority, and then you're having a lease with your tenant.
Right. So basically, you're doing business with the government in a sense.
Right. The government is footing the bill. The government is your partner. The government is your property. It's your assistant property manager, because each person that's on the voucher has a case manager. And this is why I love Section 8, being a Section 8 landlord, because you don't have case managers when you're renting out to the public. So I can't call if John Doe is not paying his rent, or he's having drugs there, or he's having parties there, or he's violating certain he's breaching certain clauses in the lease. I can't call his case manager. I can't call his parents. I can't call his friends like, hey, get your person in line. But when someone's on Section 8, you can easily call them like, hey, these are the problems that I'm having. This is what I'm trying to help them with. Can you help them to understand that? And because the housing authority understands they don't have a lot of vendors who want to rent out to Section 8, it behooves them to get that tenant in line. Like, listen, they're working with you. This is, they might be a little more strict than others, but most people are not going to rent to you anyway. So you might want to get in line. So we utilize the housing authority case managers as almost like an assistant property manager.
Right. Thank you for that. Thank you. I love the way you explain things. You make it easy to grasp. I'm not like all over the place, like going over your head. So thank you for that. One thing I will add to the audience, okay, is I remember one of my first businesses. I was, going to different classes about entrepreneurship and so on and so forth. And I ended up in a class on how to do business with the government. And there was the man who was giving the presentation. He said he had a multi-million-dollar business and he had two clients, the Thailand government and the United States government. Those are his two main clients. And he says that like any business that he grows, that yes, B2C is great, basically business to customer. B2B is even better, because now you're dealing with business owners, but the cream of the cream is doing business with the government, because that check will not bounce. Okay.
And let me tell you, and why I have a passion, because like I said, we've been Section 8 landlords for at least 14 years.
Wow.
What really made me passionate to start teaching it is because I always knew we had a system that allowed me freedom. I almost died doing childbirth, so I really wanted to make sure I was a hands-on parent. And so being a Section 8 landlord was able to bring so much money in consistently that I knew we had a methodology that was teachable, trainable, reliable, but it had never been tested to the degree that it was during the pandemic.
Right.
When the pandemic hit, people who were doing the sexy real estate, the one that I was interested in after leaving South Florida, the one who, you get your money in, you invest with everyone else, you get these sexy properties, waterfront. It's all good until it's not. And so when the pandemic hit, these people had mortgages on these things. And then there became a moratorium on evictions, but they still had all these mortgages, 30 mortgages, 50 mortgages. And they have all these different people that have, joined in with them. When the pandemic hit, those people lost everything. When the
Right.
pandemic hit with us, we were sitting back collecting our check on the first of the month for 2 years straight. Like
Yes.
when my husband's real job laid off because of the pandemic, we did not skip a beat because our real job was our play money. It was the play
Right.
money. It was the vacation money. It was the just let us have fun money. The Section 8 income was it paid all the bills. It did everything. So, and we did not skip a beat. And then it also put us in a position for those who were losing property at the time for us to purchase in the middle of a pandemic because we
Wow.
weren't carrying mortgages on the house. Why? Because even though we're rating below market value because we have low turnover rate and we're serving in underserved communities, we were able to get, money to purchase during the pandemic.
Right. Oh my gosh. You basically sold me on this. You just told me, you had me at recession proof. Basically, you basically
Yes.
said this is recession proof. I don't know if
Recession proof, pandemic proof, recession resistant. That's what I call it.
yeah.
And what really solidified it for me is that a lot of time in business we have to plan for the unexpected. We have to plan for emergency, like have an emergency preparedness plan. But no one could have planned for 2 years for the whole world to be shut down.
Right.
So even with us not planning for that, we never skipped a beat. And I said, okay, let me teach this to people because I know too many people who look like me who have to a lot of times train someone to be their supervisor. They have to work harder. They keep climbing this ladder and it might get them more money, but the money doesn't really show itself because the more money you make, the higher tax brackets you have. And so you're getting taxed at a higher rate. And I just start seeing people who just was working 24/7, continuing to get the higher degrees, continuing to get deeper in debt, continuing to strive to get to this corporate ladder status, yet their check wasn't doing it for them. And I'm
Right.
like, while you're there, let's take from your 401k and let's find you a property to position yourself. And that's why the other day I had posted in the group about positioning, because even if you're not ready to jump into real estate, let's position you while you have that 9 to 5 coming in, that income coming in, and it's not so much of a risk. Let's start taking from your 401k now, finding hidden gems in forgotten places, and just buying the property. And now take your time to get it together. So by the time you're exiting your corporate situation, you've already got your retirement supplemental funds coming in.
Right, exactly. I want to add, none of this is investment advice. This is purely for educational purposes, right?
Yes.
What one strategy, however you get the money to be able to get into this is totally up to you and your
Right.
advisor that you work with, right? So just
Yes.
want to
Thank you
put
for
that
that.
little disclaimer out there. You already know.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. So Betsy said something. She said they have given the Section 8 program such a bad rap. This is definitely a great way to revamp that. Yes, queen. So that leads me to, let's talk about some of the myths around Section 8 housing. Talk to me.
Well, let's rewind to who is the day that's giving it a bad rap first. Because the bad rap sometimes is from people who, one, have never done it, or we're repeating what the others have put on media mainstream to keep us away because they know that's where they're getting the money from. Which, when I look in the Section 8 coaching real estate, all I see is a bunch of white men basically exploiting this community and showing the boats and the lavish lifestyle that they're living on the backs of these people. And then our people take the narrative of these are not the people you want to work with, these are not the people you want to rent out to, and we just kind of take that and run with it. And so I would challenge us all to be critical thinkers and question number one, who gives it the bad rap, and then where are they actually getting their money from. But yes, so the myths are that typically they will mess up your property, that because they're low income, that they come with low income issues, which is crime.
Right.
And drugs. So drugs, crime, low income. And one of the key things I want to point out is there's a difference between low income and fixed income. And
Mm.
mostly a lot of Section 8 people are on fixed incomes, like veterans. So you
Mm-hmm.
have veterans on a fixed income. You might have people who are just have Social Security, disability. They're on a fixed income, which may also classify as a low income. But that's why having the government as your business partner, which is basically the housing authority, they're going to compensate for that. So it's not just on the backs of those who are on fixed income or low income to pay that rent monthly.
Right, right. Okay. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, you're right. And it's funny, I hate to admit this out loud, but I'm human and I like to show my humanness. Everything that you stated, I had as a limiting belief. Like, because my stepfather, he owns a building in Liberty City, and he tells me all the horror stories. Okay, if you're not from Miami, Liberty City is like it's what you think it would be. Okay, all right.
Right,
I'm not getting out the car in Liberty City. Okay, so that already paints a picture for you. And so he always tells me these stories about how he had to kick someone out because of drugs and this and that. But so I had that in my brain. I was like, oh, Section 8, do I want to deal
right,
with
right.
with all of that? But you're telling me that there's a difference between low income and fixed income. That's what did it for me. Like, wow, I never thought about that. You're right. You were
Mhm.
so right.
And then also there is a methodology to your screening. And that's when I say screening is key. And so in my program, I really get into screening because by trade, I am an applied behavior analyst. And so I can use antecedents, behaviors, and consequences to basically predict behavior. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a certain level of questionings. It's even how you question, it's the methodology. Like we watch all of these NCIS story, movies and things like that. There's a real thing about developing a baseline. So you ask questions like, hey, what's your name? Questions that they're going to easily answer. What's your name? Like, how many children do you have? And then you hit them up, what's your social media? And then they're like, the pause. They've gone away from their baseline. And
Mm-hmm.
so if someone's not wanting to be as open to you about different things, you're already getting a red flag at what are they trying to hide. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just very surface level, but there is a definite methodology in screening because if you don't properly screen, you will end up with the drugs, you will end up with the violence, you will end up with the crime, but that's Section 8 or not.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so
That's
you
true.
have to be able to understand the psychology of interviewing, the psychology of tenant selection, and the
Mm-hmm.
suitability. Like you have to understand if you're in like a brick home with or block homes with like cement walls, it doesn't matter if you have like a teenager or something that might hit a wall because there's not going to be a hole. But if you're going to have like sheetrock everywhere, you want to make sure that the tenants that you are interviewing are suitable for the property that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have like young kids, you have to know if they're young and you have sheetrock, they're going to write on those walls. So
Yeah.
if that's not a problem for you, if you rather deal with writing on the walls and holes on the walls, then you might want to make sure when you're interviewing that you are interviewing those who are suitable for the property that you have. But you also have to be very careful with that because you can't discriminate based on race, age. There are certain things you cannot discriminate against. And so you're just trying to have an objective tool on how you are selecting your tenant based on your property and making sure that that's a suitable fit.
Right, right, exactly. And you basically just described one of the concepts that I teach most of my clients is as an investor, it's nice to say that I'm a stock market investor or a Section 8 investor, real estate investor. But at the end of the day, what we really are risk managers. That's what we do. All we do
Yes.
is manage risk because the very definition of investing, the reason why you decide to invest versus putting your money in a high yield savings account or a CD or something that's a little bit safer is because you're willing to take on that risk to get a high reward. I always say this: high risk equals high reward, low risk equals safety. And so when you're getting into the high risk, all right, whatever that is, whether it's the stock market, real estate, whatever, you want to lower that risk. You can never get rid of the risk because the minute you get rid of the risk, it is no longer an investment. It is now something else. And
Right.
so I love what you said, right? You taught us some risk management skills like, hey, we
Mm.
got to be able to screen our people, right? Here are some things to look for. Here are some red flags and so on and so forth. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Absolutely. Before we move on, Lori did ask something about the 401k. So thank you for being here, Lori. Another financial professional, okay? We actually just connected. We were part of a group together. So it's nice to have you here, Lori. So we did say, I did put out a disclaimer, right? Everybody's financial situation is different, as you know, right? You work with people with their finances. So it wasn't like any advice or anything. She just kind of said it, casually, okay? So
Casual,
we
yes.
definitely don't want to be contributing money that would go into a 401k if it doesn't make sense. So
Right.
it's not like a blanket advice. So it's just, hey, here's an example of what could happen. Okay. So just
Right.
wanted to bring that up. Okay. Beautiful. So again, those of you who are watching, hit the like button, hit the little heart button, share this so that we can expand our reach and get more people to get this information, because it's very empowering stuff right here. Okay. So, Sydney, my next question for you is, I know you touched on the risk management a little bit, but let's actually open it up. What are some of the risks when it comes to deciding to be a Section 8, or like you said, what was it? I gotta scroll up.
Housing
Okay.
Choice Voucher Vendor.
There you go, right? What are some of the risks that come with this strategy?
When I compare, I mean, I get asked this question all the time, and honestly, it's no different than the risk that you would have renting out to the public, meaning you might risk someone not paying their rent.
Mm-hmm.
You might risk people presenting well initially when you're doing all your screening and all your interviews, and then they flip the script when they get in there. You might risk them doing property damage, or their kids doing property damage, and they don't have the money to pay for it. But there are no risk. You have actually less risk with this population than you do with the general population, because you have teeth in the game with the housing authority and with their case manager. So let's say, for instance, when I first get someone, they don't have a job, so the housing authority pays for their entire mortgage. I mean, their entire rent.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say 3 to 6 months in, they get a job, and they don't know, but when they get a job, the more money they make, the more they have to pay towards their rent. And so if you're getting someone who's used to paying zero amount, then they get a job, and now they've gone from paying zero to 500 a month on something that they was just paying zero on. You have to kind of think exit at entry. You got to think through the continuum before you actually get them on board. And so if they're not used to paying 500 a month, and you're used to having Section 8 in your account on the first of the month every month when they're paying it. If the tenant has to pay a portion of their rent, sometimes, especially when they're getting used to paying for it, they're not going to pay on time. They might pay on day 3. They might pay on day 7. It might take them 3 months to get used to, oh, I have to budget these $500 now and pay this in the beginning of the month. But when you set those expectations in the beginning, hey, your rent is this now because this is all you make, but the more money you make, the more you're going to have to pay. This is the threshold. Once you establish that you're a good tenant, that you are a responsible, I might, for the first time, waive your late fee. But after that, the late fee happens. Because the other thing is, because this population a lot of times is so used to being scammed, they also are used to tugging on people's heart to have people make exceptions for them. And so when you're someone who, I consider myself a social entrepreneur, like I'm going to solve a social problem while building a life of luxury. And so when they realize, oh, she has a heart, she wants to solve a social problem, they try to tug on the heart. And that's why it's important to think like a tenant, but act like a CEO. So as long as you have your standards and your policies and your procedures and your systems in place, when you want to tug, when you want to show discretion, at least you've already set the parameters for yourself. Okay, if they pay 3 months straight and they're late 1 month, I'll waive this. So that you won't totally be leading with your heart the whole time, and before you know it, they're running game on you.
Look at that. Look at that. That's one of the things I teach about the stock market, right? Because the stock market, 2 things are going to get to you: your fear and your greed. Okay. And so a lot of my teaching, because the strategies are easy. A lot of these strategies, you just, pick a few things, automate it, and it's working in the background. But what really gets hard is overcoming our emotions. So it's refreshing to see that this is in every investment asset class, right? Any investment category, even in real estate, where you got to control the emotions. Okay,
You have to
because
control
heart
their
will get you.
Their heart will get you every time, and especially during screening, because everyone has a sob story. And some of the mistakes I've made early on was the one who had the biggest sob story got the place. They were the tenant that I went with, the one who had the biggest sob story. So and then I realized everyone has a sob story, and I can't let their sob story be the deciding factor on who gets the place.
Right.
Those were the ones actually who did, tear up the house, who did let drug dealer boyfriends move in, who did leave their kids unattended, and that the kids let candles burn and the house caught on fire. So those with the biggest sob story a lot of times caused us the biggest problems.
Right.
And so we had to listen to the sob stories, empathize with them. But when we had our systems in place, our objective screening tools, it allowed us to operate as a business. Sorry for your sob story. However, these are our qualifying factors. And so once I kind of made those mistakes early on, I've worked all those issues out.
Right. And that's why you're the coach, right? That's why you're the expert. That's why we hire you, because we want to and that's for everybody. Anytime you work with a coach, with a strategist, with a planner, whoever the professional is that you decide to hire on your journey to investing and making your money work harder than you do, right? What you're really investing in is shortening your learning curve, because we've been in it. We've done all the mistakes, right? And so it would be nice to have someone in your family who already went through this, and then they could just kind of mentor you. But a lot of us don't have that person in our family, right? And so that's why we as experts, we do this. We do this to give back to our community, to teach you to do something within a few months versus the 5-10 years it took me to learn this. So thank you for that. Thank you so much for that. Yes. Awesome. So Christina asked a question. And by the way, I invite everyone, if you have questions, comments, right, go ahead and ask them in the chat. We have Sydney here. We have her for maybe another couple of minutes. All right. So we're on her time. Okay.
Oh, we have time. So as long as we have questions, we're good.
Yes, so you heard that. If you want her to keep talking, ask questions, okay? Because I got some questions, but I can't think of all of them. And also share this live, right? We want to expand our reach. We want to empower our community, especially underserved and underrepresented communities in the finance world, okay? So Christina says, are investment groups allowed to be a housing choice voucher vendor? She got the term right, okay? Meaning, could I get together with other women and all of us buy an eligible property as a group? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, you can, as long as you have, I guess what you're asking is if you guys come together and create an LLC. If you guys come together, create an LLC, and then or a partnership, so you don't have to be an LLC, you can be a partnership, and whoever owns that, who's ever listed as the primary owner, you would have to take that with your information to verify that you own the home, and then submit that to the housing authority. And then whatever bank account that you give the housing authority as that group of investors, that's who's going to get the check. And then you guys will have to decide how that's dispersed from there.
Right, exactly. So Christina, essentially what you're describing is what we would call syndication, okay? So syndication is essentially you're getting together with a group of people and you're buying assets. Most of the time there's tangible assets that are creating some sort of cash flow, and then you redistribute the cash flow amongst the group, right? So so you would look into creating a syndication group, or there are other ways to go about this, but I would consult either a tax professional or an attorney to help you, structure it properly so that you can protect yourself and the group as well. Because getting the house, that's an easy process, as Sydney mentioned, but you want to take care of, you want to protect everyone that's part of the group. Because when there's no money involved, I'm speaking from experience, when you have a group of people and they're like, yeah, let's go, we're going to do this, and there's no money being made, everything's beautiful. Everything's roses and rainbows and butterflies. But as soon as the money starts to come in, that's when you start to see people's true colors. And I always say this to any client who's going in with a group. That's not to say don't trust your family, don't trust your sisters and the people in your community. It just means be very, very careful who you invite into your money making ideas. Okay, so just
And Christina, I like to add to what Kat said. In one of the reasons why I really like Section 8 as a entryway into real estate investing is it's low risk as long as you're doing it on your own terms. But if you try to go into landlording for the first time with an investment group, or specifically this part of landlording with Section 8 tenants, if your whole investment group doesn't have the same mindset that this is a population who's underserved, marginalized, they're going to come with certain trauma. You got to be trauma informed when you deal with them. If they don't come from that mindset, then there are going to be times where it just doesn't make sense unless you've already done the work before. So you've already known how to navigate through these situations. But to jump into it for the first time with this population, with an investment group, and you don't really understand, they don't understand all the other things that have to go into managing this population as far as a landlord, it might not be as easy to do. So I would suggest doing it alone first, learning and navigating, understanding your behavior as it relates to landlord and dealing with this population, and then find like-minded individuals to do the same.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. You know, when we come from marginalized groups or underserved groups or underrepresented groups, and we come across, you know, empowering information like investing, like investing in real estate and stocks and crypto and other alternative investments, we get so excited and we have this urge, this desire to share it with everyone. But we have to also remember that not everyone is at your point in your journey, mindset wise, right? The mindset is so important. On paper, it might seem like a no-brainer. Like, come on, guys, the numbers make sense. By the way, don't let me forget to ask you about some examples for numbers. But
okay,
numbers make sense, you know, it's low risk, it's this and that, let's just get in. But then because the person has some limiting beliefs around money, their money story is a little shaky, and they don't feel worthy of getting the success that is possible in this specific investment, they're going to do everything to sabotage it. And most of the time it's happening subconsciously. They don't even know that they're doing it. And I speak from experience, okay? Because listen, when you get into this world, when you start getting into rooms where you're not only the only person of color in the room, but you're the only person of color that is a woman, you get access to a lot of information, and it's like, oh my God, I need to teach my people. But then, are the people ready to receive this, right? And so definitely, I love that question because it opened up a whole discussion around, you know, choosing business partners and investing partners. So thank you for that, Christina. Did you have something to add, Sydney?
Yes, just you mentioned women, and this was the other point I wanted to make sure I covered tonight, is specifically the landlording this population as a woman landlord. It's the most safe because most of your tenants are going to be women.
Yes.
And a lot of times are going to be single women, so that even if they have other situations, relationships, domestic partners, long-term, whatever, if they're not on that voucher, they can't stay in that house. And so you have a better ability to kind of manage risk management again, because you're almost woman to woman is a little less friction, as me being a short woman in nature and very girly, trying to enforce something with men tenants. I mean, yeah, it brings on a whole nother level of dynamics.
Right.
So just being a woman landlord for this population it serves as an advantage.
Right. Okay. I love that. We're dropping in the gems here. Okay. So we got another question. Bertilde says, are HOA communities difficult to get into as HCVV in your experience? Okay, so I'm not in real estate, so can you debunk, like, can you translate that in English? Because she's in real estate, so she knows.
Yes, so she's asking about home ownership associations.
Yes, no,
And
the
typically,
HCVV. What's that? What does that mean?
so homeowner associations, a lot of times, they're like the planned communities where the lawn has to be a certain level, all the mailboxes for the most part are the same, and they have all these restrictions basically to keep their property value up, and also to keep others out. A lot of times,
Right.
homeowners associations are to keep others out so that they can keep their property value up. And in doing so, a lot of homeowner associations say if you live in this subdivision, you cannot Airbnb because we don't know who's coming in here. We pay homeowners association to have a level of people who can afford to be over here. And if you're just Airbnb, anyone can Airbnb. And so the same for Section 8. They don't want Section 8 in their subdivisions. They don't want assisted living facilities, personal care homes. A lot of communities with homeowners associations make it very hard for any person other than the homeowner themselves to live or rent in that community. Um, and so, yeah, Section 8 getting into those type of communities are more difficult to do so. And also you don't clear as much money, because a lot of times those houses are going to have higher mortgages anyway. So from an investment standpoint, it really would not make sense to be in a community that has HOA. One, because a lot of times they're not even going to be in the areas that your tenants need. When you're serving this population, these tenants are going to a lot of times not have transportation. So they're going to need to be near hospitals. They're going to need to be near railroads. They're going to need to be near public transportations. And a lot of those HOA communities are not near that. They're further out because they don't want to be in the inner city. They don't want to be near the train station or the public transportation.
Right, right. Okay, beautiful. Yeah. So what I was asking, I know what an HOA is. But I'm glad you explained it because other people don't. What I was
Mhm.
asking about was the HCVV, but I realized that she abbreviated the
Right.
new word
Housing
that I
choice
learned
voucher vendor.
tonight. Look at y'all. See, y'all get to take notes. I can't take notes right now. I'm the host, right? So I was like, what's ACVV? And she's like, hello, you just learned it, Kat. Are you paying attention?
That's funny. That is so funny.
I got you. Well, they're paying attention.
Yeah.
Okay. At least they're out there taking notes. So thank you for that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And to be honest with you, a lot of the gems that you're dropping tonight, yes, they're great for Section 8 housing,
Mhm.
investment strategies, but they're like low key like landlord strategies for
Yes.
general things.
Yes.
All right. Yes. Yes. Type in a 7 in the chat if you're getting some value. Okay. I already know the answer is yes. Right. I just want to see some action in the chat. Okay. So let's talk numbers. So can you give us an example?
Hold
Right.
on. I just hit a button by mistake. Okay, there you go. Go ahead.
Yes, yes. So what I was saying is let's talk numbers. Give us an example of the cost of a property, like an investment that you have done, or maybe a client that you helped with, or whatever the case, like a case study of
Okay.
a property. How much was it? How much is it bringing in every month, and so on and so forth. Let's make it real for the
Okay,
people
I wish I had
watching.
pictures. I wish I had pictures I could show you. I'm gonna tell you the most we spent on a house and the least we spent on a house.
Hmm.
So I think the most we've spent, now take it, we're in Georgia. Cost of living is the part of Georgia that we're in. Cost of living is much, I can't really say it's cheaper than it might be Atlanta, Charlotte type. Definitely cheaper than South Florida. But our methodology is to find hidden properties in forgotten places. That's the key to distressed properties. That's the key to Section 8. So any place that anyone's thinking about gentrifying, we try to find those areas before they become gentrified, not the war crime areas, but definitely distressed properties. And so we've spent at most $25,000 for a house. All of them are brick. We buy off market.
What?
Yes. Look, I didn't mean to make the thumbs up come up. Yes. So we get off market. We've spent, let's just say for the most, 25,000. So we buy the house, and this is why positioning is important. We buy the house and then we take our time. So we pay the 25,000. Now I'm not giving financial advice, but I'm just wanting to give a case study on how we've used our 401k. So let's say that we didn't have 25,000 off the rip and we needed to get this house off the market. We're going to go to our 401k, pull that 25, and then pay ourselves back, because we found that it's easier to get a loan from ourselves from the 401k at a lower interest rate and have our paycheck just pay that back.
Right. So, and can I pause for a second? I just wanted to add, you can do that with any investment. You could do that with your stocks. If you have your own IRA or your own stocks that you're doing, right? Your own brokerage account, or you could even do it with your crypto. It's called a securities-based loan. So you're basically lending yourself money. But keep going.
Yes. Okay. So exactly. So we lend ourselves money. We take that money. We go buy the house just to snatch it off the market. Okay. Now, because we've counted up the cost before we snatch that money, so we know whatever we're paying ourselves back from is not going to impact our day-to-day life. So we're only pulling enough to not impact us, but to also let us get this property. So the minute that we get the property, it's already tax deductible. We're already, even if the land, sometimes we're buying property where the land is more valuable than the property itself.
Right.
So we buy the property, and with this particular property, I think we had to put, so it was, let's say it was 25,000 to purchase. We probably put another 10 on a roof. We put another 6 in the HVAC system. And then within 3 years, we've already cash flowed, because all that money was made back in cash flow. And then every month we're paying ourselves back in the 401k. So, and then because we don't have turnover rates, they keep staying. And here's the other thing about Section 8, you get raises. So we don't actually have to, like, you might start off below market value, but Section 8 and the Housing Authority continues to give raises each year based on different things. So they might come in paying for a 3-bedroom, they might come in paying, let's just say $1,300, and then Section 8 does their numbers and say, wait a minute, we're going to up that to $1,500. You haven't changed tenants, you hadn't had to do a full renovation.
Wow.
And now you're taking that money and, you're just making that happen. And we've also bought houses that were $6,000. So we bought houses that were $6,000, 3-bedroom, $6,000. And it took us about 5 years to get that house together. But in purchasing a house for $6,000, we want to make sure it had good bones, so there are certain things you have to look at during property analysis. And we're like, well, we know it has a lot of work to do on the inside, but overall, this is a good house with good bones. We're going to put $6,000 on that house, and it's going to take us 5 years to fix, because we're not in a hurry. We didn't put ourselves in a financial bind. We positioned ourselves to get there, because the minute we bought it, it's an asset. So even though it's not bringing in income, it's still an asset. And so that's what I mean by positioning. So we have time to play around on that. 6 years, okay, one day we'll fix the AC. One day we'll fix the roof. If it's an eyesore, we'll fix that around, just so it won't be an eyesore anymore. And by the time we're done with that, in 1 year, that house cash flowed.
Right. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
So I'm trying to paint the picture here. So the example of the 6,000. So you put that is your down payment, right?
No. That's the house.
What?
This is why I'm saying don't go for the houses that have HOAs.
Wait a minute. Hold up. I've been sleeping.
Right.
Oh my God.
This is what I'm trying to scream from the rooftops to everyone that will listen. Because a lot of people like to discount and say, oh, it's because you live in Georgia. It's not. There are places all around. All you got to do is see where everyone's trying to gentrify. Look at the things that people are gentrifying. They're pushing people out where they can't even, first of all, listen to the news. Wherever there's high crime, that's actually a lot of times being perpetuated. It's not like the crime has not been there. They're just now putting a megaphone on that crime. Why? Because they want you to flee. They want you to flee that area so they can come in, buy it up, gentrify, kick everybody else out, and bring their people in. So if you're listening to the news and you're hearing just it all, you got to almost just listen and then listen again. Riviera Beach. Yes. Yes. And so if you listen, you're going to be able to hear the dog whistles that are happening on the news. And so listen to the dog whistles, get over there while you can still purchase at this low rate. The reason that they're so low is because they're trying to make the people who live there think that you need to get out. These houses aren't worth anything. And so, and the
Wow.
people typically are selling their houses for $5,000, $10,000, like their grandmother's house, the legacies. Don't sell these properties. Put them
Wow.
on Section 8.
Right.
Don't
Oh
sell
my God.
them.
Wow.
Don't let them get you out of your, and then you can't even go back. Don't do that. So yes, no, $6,000. We
6,000.
6,000 period is what we bought for the house, and then
Right.
we put 20 on the outside. We put 10 on the roof. We put 6 on the AC unit. We put about 3 on the flooring. But because we're positioning and we're doing that incrementally, we never feel it, and there's never a pressure to, oh my God, we gotta hurry up and get a tenant in there. And
Mhm.
that's why when your other person had said something about an investment group, you don't have that leisure when you're with an investment group. They want to see the money turn over real, right then. And so that's why our methodology really wouldn't work that well with an investment group.
Right, right. So just to clarify, throughout this process, are you doing the renovations? Because I see my stepfather, he does that. He'll do the renovations with the tenants. What he has tenants. Are you waiting to finish the renovations before you get tenants, or are you getting the tenants and then doing the renovations as you go?
You have to, when you're talking about Section 8, remember you're basically doing dual roles. So you're a
Hmm.
housing choice voucher vendor, which means that before you can actually have a tenant come in, the housing authority has to come in and do their own inspection.
Hmm.
So you can't rent with a Section 8 tenant in it without the housing authority doing their
Gotcha.
inspection. And their inspections are, they seem intimidating. They're not. They're not
Hmm.
intimidating. All they're looking for is safety and security. There are certain things that are going to automatically make you fail. But if you're thinking with a mind of safety and security, foundational structures and things like that, you're going to pass that. When you pass, now let's just say now you pass the inspection, you got your tenant moves in, and now your tenant has done damage. Now you can do renovations and fix things with the tenant in there, but the initial inspection for the housing authority, they must pass that before you can have someone move in.
Right, right, right. Now, here's what I'm thinking, right? Because when a client works with me, the first thing we look at is what are some of your goals. Then we get into, okay, how can we move money around to get you to those goals? So if I were to tell one of my clients like, hey, I have an expert who's going to help you, get into Section 8 housing as an investment, as a passive income strategy, what would be the time? I know every situation is different, right? But what would be the timeline of purchasing the house, having a tenant in the house, and then cash flowing? Because I know my client's going to ask me about it. So I'm just going to ask
Okay.
you up front. Yeah.
So if your client would this particular client already have the money to purchase, or
Right.
would they have
Ideally, let's just say yes. Yes. They
okay.
have it there. They've got, 50K in the bank sitting there, and they're like, Kat, how do I invest this? And I
Oh
already
yeah,
have my stocks, I already have my
perfect.
bonds and everything.
Okay, so let's just say from the time you have a house ready
Hmm.
until the time you 3 months.
Three
So
months.
three
Okay.
months to 3 months to basically have the housing authority come out and do the inspection.
Right.
3 months,
Okay.
and that's really given being very generous because there's such a waiting list. If we call the housing authority today, which is what, Monday, if we
Hmm.
called the housing authority on Monday and said, hey, we have a 3-bedroom ready to go, when can you come out and inspect, they might say Thursday at 5 o'clock.
Hmm. Wow.
So when you call the housing authority, you probably already want to have gone to the different websites that you need to go to start screening your tenants, because the
Mhm.
minute that you tell them you have a house available, they're going to come out and inspect. But you
Yeah.
also need a tenant. You would have also needed to have a tenant with the housing choice voucher that you've already vetted. and got the security deposit and all those different things, because the minute that they come to inspect, you get that's your first day of getting paid.
Right.
So if they come out on Friday, which whatever that date will be, 5 days from now, that will be like the 20th, I'm guessing, just throwing a date out there. If they come out on the 20th, you wouldn't get paid until the first of the month, but your check starts on the 20th. The day that
Wow.
they come out and do their inspection. So it's a very quick turnaround depending on the waiting list that they have.
Right, right. Okay. And so the renovation part you were saying can happen in the background. That's the one. Because when you said it, I was like, wait, it's going to take 5 years to get someone in there, or can I get someone in there?
No, so
Okay, got it.
so when you're getting distressed property and you are taking your time, like these are for the busy professionals, the people who
Right.
might not be able to do the renovations on their own, or they're trying to do it on their own salary and not do it as a group or use other people's money and all those different things. So for the people who are just the solopreneur or the solo landlord, and this is your first time getting in, you don't have to like you can
Right.
position yourself. But for those who are ready to go, they don't have to position themselves. Like renovations can happen as long as you have the money, like quickly.
Right.
And
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I know we could talk forever, right? We could make this a 4 or 5 hour live, but I want to be respectful of your time. So tell us, when someone decides to hire you as the expert to hold their hand throughout this process, talk to me about what that journey looks like to work with you, because I'm asking for me and I'm asking for a friend.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it really depends on everyone where they are in their process. So I do, for those who are trying to position, I take them through like an assessment, financial assessment. We identify what your real estate goals are, as it relates to this population. What your real estate goals are? Is it to leave a legacy? Is it to just have passive income? Do you need to position yourself to find money in your current budget? So we take them through that. For those who don't need that, then there's an intensive strategy session where they might just want a general overview, like a blueprint. They have the house. They want to know more about the Section 8 themselves, and they want to invest, like an intense strategy session. That will be like three strategy calls, and take them through the process of screening, take them through the process of filling out the application for the housing voucher, and then taking them through the process of making sure you have all your paperwork done. And then there's a long-term 3-month mentorship program for those who want really what should be in my lease, and what type of questions should I be asking. And well, I really don't want to manage, but what should I be asking for in a property manager? So for those people, they will go into the longer 3-month mentorship program.
Gotcha. All right. You heard from Sydney here. Any questions? Type in an 8 in the chat if you're excited about all these gems that Sydney just kept dropping one after another. Type in an 8 in the chat if you're excited. And also type in your questions, okay? Because I'm done with questions. I don't have any more questions. So
Well,
please
you
don't
asked
go
great
watching the
questions,
replay.
Kat. You asked great questions.
Right? Don't go to the replay saying, why didn't Kat ask this? Why didn't Kat ask that? Why didn't you ask it? Okay. So while we're doing all of this, I know that's one thing I was going through the checklist of in the beginning, where you said myths about Section 8, myths about being a landlord. You talked a lot about that alignment and how to position yourself. The last thing I'd like to ask you about, what can someone say who's like, I just watched this live and I'm interested. Like, what do I need to do to get myself ready to book a call with you and say, Sydney, let's go. Take me through your process. What does a person need to do to get themselves to that point where they're ready?
Well, really, if you can just drop an email and reach out to me there. Thanks, Lori. Drop an email, get on my calendar, and let's chat for a minute and see if we're a good fit, what you need, and if we're ready to move forward.
Yes. Awesome. And so before they get on the call with you, what should they have? What should they already have? Do they need to just have the money, right? What are some things that they could say, okay, I have this, I have that, I'm ready for Sydney?
So because I have 3 packages for those who don't have money, but they have if they have a goal, they know that, one, I want to rent out to Section 8 because this is my niche. So I'm teaching the Section 8 passive income strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So one, they have to know that they're okay with this population. I'll be able to teach them the benefits of it and all of those different things. But if they have the goal and don't have the money, then those people would get on the phone with me, and I would basically do what you do, is kind of find the money within what they're having, what they
Right.
already have, and help them to get themselves to where they need to be, or at least have a blueprint to follow. For
Mm-hmm.
those who have money, or those who already have property, like maybe someone just recently passed and left you a property, maybe you've inherited a portfolio, and you want to diversify it and not just rent to certain people, but you also want to diversify it with this passive income. Then for those, they would just jump on a call and be able to make sure you have all the information showing that you do own the house, and that you've already reached out to your local housing authority to see if they are accepting new housing choice vendors. And if you are just on the fence and you're still not sure if you want to get in this population, go ahead and start joining Section 8 groups in your city, so you can kind of see what is going on, what the local landlords are dealing with, so you can have the questions from their standpoint that you want to ask me when you get on a call with me.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And so, yes, I love how you said those who, I guess I would say it, those who don't know where they're going to find the money. Because please don't go, please don't call Sydney if you're not ready. Please don't. Okay. All right.
Right.
Because you have to be able to invest in her program as well, right? But I love how you said find the money, right? So sometimes we keep ourselves from a strategy or from an opportunity, and we make it way more complicated than it is. Like, oh, I don't have the money yet, or where am I going to find the money? All my money's tied up, and this and that. And what Sydney is saying is, don't worry about all that. All right. If this is something that you're interested in, give her, reach out to her, send her a DM, type it in the chat, positioning, because that's your word in the group, right? Positioning. Go ahead and type it in the chat, positioning, and Sydney will reach out to you and she will help you strategize of where can I find the money? Because a lot of times the money is already in front of you. We just got to get you to see it. Okay. And
the money is always, not a lot of times, it's always right in front of us.
Right in front of us. No, it's true. It's so true. It is
is
so true. I see this with my clients all the time, where they're like, oh, I don't know, Kat, I don't know, I'm going to get the money to invest, and I have all these bills, and I make $10,000, I make $15,000 a month, but my bills are $15,000 a month. Trust me, you've got money. We're going to help you find it.
And then also you have to be ready to make the shift. And we talk about this a lot, Kat, in our group. That we share together, and that is, just because you're making the money doesn't mean you're good with money. And when you are clearing, I'm just going to give a number out. We probably clear about, I don't know, and this is not all of them, but just on like 7, maybe 20 a month, on top of the money that we already make, on top of not even having that be an asset. And so if we're just like, this is just free money, I'm just going to go get because I can afford it, let me go get this car, or let me go get this bag, or let me go get if you don't have the mindset that money is not just like money in, money out, like you really, wait, I know I have jewelry that I can sell. Exactly.
That's right, Lori. Already finding the money. That's right.
And so it's just like, you don't want to, just because the money's coming in, to spend it. So kind of going through that assessment for those who are trying to position, I take them through the whole alignment of, you have to now, all of your decisions have to be in line with being a CEO and not a consumer.
Ooh, say that again for the people in the back.
Yes, you have to align your mindset to be a CEO and not a consumer, because you will spend all the money, or you will look at investments as a consumer as opposed to a CEO. And so you might be like, well, I wouldn't live in this neighborhood, so I'm not going to invest in that neighborhood. Well, now you're investing like a consumer. Right. You're not investing like a CEO. And so you have to be able to find the hidden gems in forgotten places and overlooked places. If it's somewhere that already has a spotlight on it, that's not for you. That's not your place. It's already been discovered.
Right. Yes. I'm gonna have to take a page off of your book. Don't worry, I'll give you credit. Right. invest like a CEO. It's so true, right? Especially within the stock market, we get so attached to a particular stock, or we get so attached to a particular index fund. It's like, oh, well, such and such guru told me to go buy this. And it's like, why are you buying it? Right? Exactly. Like, have you looked at the financials? Have you looked at the income statement, the cash flow statement? Have you looked at everything? Have you thought about it as a CEO, or are you emotionally attached to this investment because X, Y, and Z told you to go buy it? So I love that. Thank you so much. Oh, there goes a question, guys. Keep the questions coming. Sydney said that she will stay as long as there's questions. So if you want her to stay, ask questions. Okay. Bertil says, do you also help find off-market properties as well, or help guide in which areas?
So I'll send you Beltine. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I'll send you the for those who wrote under that post I put positioning. I sent them all a how to find hidden gems in forgotten places. And it's very simple. It's 5 steps. It looks like it's not, but that's really the proven methodology that I use. And so I don't necessarily teach you how to find off market, but I teach you how to analyze and where to find. So I guess, yeah, if I send you that information, you'll be able to follow that guideline. And then if you have more questions that you want to have answered, then just, schedule a call. But definitely in the mentorship program, that's our baseline, kind of showing you how to find off market. So I don't help you find, but I show you how to for yourself.
Right. I love that. And I love the piece you said about, 20K, 20 or so K passively. Like, that feels so good. I mean, it's easy to clear 20K a month, but most of the time, especially in the stock market, if you're trading, you're not, that's not passive, right? You are in front of the computer, looking at charts, getting in, getting out, pressing buttons all day long to clear that. So just to have that just flowing in passively, like, ooh, I feel it.
Guaranteed recession. Like, I don't care. I don't like pandemic could hit, like the government, even if the government shuts down and the government is paying you this money, when they open back up, they have to pay you back retroactively. So it's guaranteed. Like, I don't know why more people don't do it, honestly.
Because we don't know all the things you listed. I'm in it.
Lori, the link is on my website. This was so impromptu. I didn't even come with my link. Cap is going to kill me later for not doing that. But in the replay, I'll come back and post the link under your comment, so you'll have the link to connect.
Yes. What is it? Is it something easy that I could type?
It's on my Facebook page. It's like info@SydneyLoftonAsMe.com or something like that.
Okay, that's kind of long. Okay.
Yeah. It's long. I'll
Yes, right. An affiliate link. Yes. We'll work that out. For sure. Yes. Thank you, Lori. Thank you for that. Okay. Lendy says, how can we get in contact with you? So that was going to be my last question. Mm-hmm. So yes, tell the people, how can they find you? How can we contact you? Tell us, how do we get in contact with you?
Several ways. You can also just friend me on Facebook, Sydney Lofton, or you can send me an email at sydneylofton@gmail.com. You can also message me through Messenger, and then I can share the link. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see the link to get on my calendar, which that's the link I don't know by heart. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all good. I'm just happy that I was able to have you on the platform to bring value to our people, right? To our communities. So that's good. Carisha says, positioning, I would like information on how to find properties, please. Okay, beautiful. Beatriz said, thank you so much for shifting my mindset around Section 8. Look at you, Sydney, changing one mind at a time, including mine. I mean, we're in the group together, so you kind of already shifted my mind. That's why you're here. But today I'm like, wow, Kat, you've been sleeping. Yes. Yes. Awesome. Any last words, comments, observations, anything you want to tell the people?
I just want to thank you, Kat, for sharing your platform with me. And thank you for all that you do. The way that you talk about money with ease and investing, investments, it really is empowering. So thank you so much for what you do. Thank
Oh,
you for how you do it. Thank you for doing it your own way, and not cookie cutter. And so I just thank you for showing up. I thank you for being who you are. I thank you for sharing your platform, and I thank you for this safe community of experts that you've created. And so I just thank you for being you, and allowing me to share in your group tonight.
oh, you're gonna make me cry. I'm so honored. I'm so honored. And this is just the beginning, Queen.
Mhm.
Let's change the world together because this is
Yes,
powerful stuff.
ma'am.
Let's flip the script, okay?
Flip
Let's
the
do
script.
this.
Oh, that's funny. I do have a program called Flip the Script and Not the Property, because
Oh,
we talk so much. Flip the script and not the property. And that's for people who want to do the wholesaling and the flipping. I'm like, before you sell, before you flip, let's get some passive income coming in. Then play with the big boys and flipping, all those other things.
yes.
Yeah.
I love this. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes. So, we're all about empowering women, from all over the world. And this is something that every woman needs to know, right? And
Yeah.
so you do as you please with this information and go ahead and empower yourselves and your family. One thing I learned is when you teach a woman, you teach an entire village, because the woman is going to go and teach her spouse. She's going to go teach her children, her sisters, her mother, her neighbors. She's going to teach everyone. So that's why I'm so passionate about specifically helping women understand this stuff. So thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
everyone.
you.
Yes, don't forget to type in positioning, the word
Positioning.
positioning. Yes, so that Sydney can reach out to you, give you some gems, get on the phone with her, ask her questions, and go get this money. Go get this passive
Go get
money.
this money and solve a housing crisis while creating generational wealth.
Let's
Solve
go.
the problem while creating generational wealth.
Yes, 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 yes. I love that. All right, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Sydney. If you
Thank
want to stay
you.
on,
Okay.
so we could talk. Yes.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Couple positioning there. Bye bye. You're welcome, Bernard. Bye.